Hey everybody. I want to go over your due dates. I'm getting a lot of questions about what's due and when. So 2 things you should have already done are the compare and contrast brainstorm. You could write that on paper and take a picture and upload it. You could do it on a Word document or a Google Doc and upload it. This is found in the assignments folder on Blackboard in the homework assignments folder. So if you haven't turned that in, please do so. The second reminder is that chapters 11 through 14 textbook notes were due on April 16th, and that is in the homework folder, same folder as the top one. And this is talking about the online textbook. So you just take notes on each chapter and upload it. And make sure they're organized. Don't just give a lump or a paragraph summary of the chapter. You got to organize your notes. That's part of this course, learning how to be successful with note-taking strategies. The next thing, this is due today. I need your compare and contrast outline. Remember, we went over outlining before. I'm going to do a quick model again, but the detailed longer model is in last week's lecture on YouTube, so you can rewatch that if you're having trouble with outlining your ideas. The third thing the third thing related to the compare contrast assignment is due today is the works cited page. So you're going to want to go to Purdue OWL, the website, and look at a proper works cited page. I also have a proper works cited and MLA formatted paper posted in the course materials folder, okay? A lot of you have been asking questions about the compare contrast paper. It is finding 2 new sources on a topic related to mass incarceration and police brutality that you are interested in researching more about. So you find 2 sources and then you write a compare contrast paper about those 2 sources and how those 2 sources approached the topic. Okay, so the student samples on Blackboard are going to give you more detailed information about what the assignment looks like. There are several student samples in the folder. Please look at them. They basically are a model of exactly what you're supposed to be doing. The other thing I wanted to tell you, so in Blackboard, some of you have been saying that you're having trouble accessing certain documents or certain things, finding certain things on Blackboard. I really only am using the gradebook, course materials, and assignments and exams. If you look in all those folders, look around, you'll find what you need. Okay, you just need to spend some time figuring out what goes with what after listening to my lecture and looking at the daily lesson plan. So, some things to look for on Blackboard. In the course materials folder, there are samples. There is an MLA model of how to format a paper. And there's a checklist for writing a paper in MLA format. Okay? So because I've given you those resources, I am expecting you to properly MLA format your paper, properly MLA format any documents you send to me, including heading, the header, the title, the double spacing, the font sizing. Remember, this checklist tells you what you need to include as far as your research and your works cited. So those are some really helpful resources that you can look for on Blackboard. If you need extra help with resources, citation, remember you need, for the compare contrast, you need 2 sources at least. Okay, those are the ones you're comparing and contrasting. You need in-text citations, and I did a lesson on those already. If you need more help, Purdue OWL is great. Also, when you sign into Blackboard, Morrisville is continuing online tutoring, so you can definitely use an online tutor to help you with these assignments, especially if you are trying to earn an A in the class instead of pass-fail. you should probably use a tutor to help make sure you ensure the A or the B level that you want. Speaking of pass-fail, I did send out an announcement that you may choose to transfer this course into a pass-fail model instead of A, B, C, D, F. I only recommend that if you get, if you get a C, because an A or a B is going to look a lot better on your transcript than a pass-fail grade. So please consider that carefully. Like I've told you before, if you're staying in touch with me, doing the work and uploading it, then you are being successful in the course. So please make sure you're trying to earn that A level so that you don't need a pass-fail for this course on your transcript. Okay, now back to our compare contrast. Sorry, I got off on a little tangent about the pass-fail. You need in-text citations, which remember, you want to have a signal phrase according to, name the author, and then this is what I'm talking about. You have the signal phrase that identifies who you're talking about. You have the correct punctuation, comma, quotation marks. You have the quote. You have the in-text citation within parentheses. That's why sometimes you'll hear them called parenthetical citations, because they're within parentheses. And the period is important to come at the end. The period does not go here, because the period means everything before this is this particular citation. Now, in this example, since we have named Smith as the author, all we need to do is put the page number. If you don't name Smith, like let's just say you're paraphrasing, you could say, back to my topic of male and female prison wardens, my pretend research topic, we could say historically, and this is just made up for an example for citations. Historically, there have been less female wardens than male. And I took that idea from a source. So I don't need quotation marks because I put their words in my own words. But I do need to identify in-text citation to give credit where credit is due. Because I didn't mention the author, I put the author and the page number in the parenthetical citation. Okay? So make sure you know what you're doing with in-text and end-text citations, because if you improperly do the in-text citation to an extreme, like let's say you turn in a paper that has the works cited page, you did the presentation, but you don't have any in-text citations, that's going to not be a good grade, okay? Because you have to learn that you need to give credit in the paper where credit is due, and that's not just for quotations, it's for paraphrasing and summarizing as well. Excuse me. All right. You also need end-text citation. That's going to be your works cited. It's in alphabetical order. Okay. So you need the two sources, you need the in-text citations, and you need the works cited at the end of the paper. Now, some of you are confused because I've been talking about a paper and a presentation. Usually when you do a presentation, you have a paper that you did that gave you all the background information for the presentation, which is what I'm expecting. So for this presentation, you are writing a paper and then turning that paper into a presentation. Okay, so that's why you have two components here. Okay, now for the presentation, most of you are probably going to choose PowerPoint, so that's what I'm going to talk about. The order of the slides is totally up to you. You could do it the same as your outline. That's why an outline was required, to help you plan your presentation more appropriately. In the past, some people have started out with a general summary of the topic that they chose. So for example, I would start out with a summary of prison warden work, what it looks like, and then transition into historically the differences between male and female wardens, because remember that was my pretend topic. So summary topic, transition into a summary of the articles you chose, and then similarities and differences. I'm expecting this to look professional with minimal errors. I'm expecting it to look like you put time into it and you didn't just copy and paste from your paper. And I'm looking for confidence in speaking skills. So I'm going to go over that next. Oh, also I wanted to mention before I go into speaking skills, at the end of your PowerPoint, you can just put your works cited page. Within your PowerPoint, you also want to provide in-text citations for any information that you got from elsewhere besides your own brain. So let's say you summarize the topic as best you know how with your background info, then you go into both articles, you're going to cite them in the PowerPoint as well. Really important to cite in the PowerPoint as well. So you're not only citing in the paper, citing in the PowerPoint as well. All right, now as far as your presentation goes, I know it's going to be a little non-traditional. You're only presenting to me, and maybe if my kids make a cameo, or maybe I'll have all my kids sit down as an audience for you so you can practice all your speaking skills. All right, so for a presentation, the number one reason people do not do well on this assignment is because they don't prepare. A lot of people think it's stupid to speak out loud into your bathroom mirror or say your presentation out loud to yourself or to your mom, but I can tell a difference in the people who rehearse verbally out loud their presentation before they come to me or before they go in front of the class. So please make sure you plan for rehearsal for your presentation. Okay, that's going to help you become a really good speaker. And then think about what are some aspects of a good presenter. Like, what would you describe as characteristics of someone you could pay attention to for more than an hour, for example? Think about the professors you really enjoy. What do they do that holds your attention? Well, they probably make eye contact. In a different presentation scenario, moving around the room is obviously always acceptable, but we're just doing our presentation to each other, so you don't need to get up and move. Your volume, and a lot of times your volume is associated with your self-confidence. If you don't feel confident in yourself, your volume is going to dwindle and no one will hear what you're saying. Okay, so plan rehearsals, make eye contact, make sure you're paying attention to your volume, and make sure that you are confident in your course or in your resource material. Okay, so I am looking for that in your presentation. I am also looking for you to be able to answer any questions I might have after you're done presenting. So if you say something I'm confused about or I want to know more about in the article, I will be asking you some questions that I expect you to answer. And think about ways to respond to questions that you don't know the answer to. For example, you could say, I'll find that out for you, but I don't have that information right now. Or you could say, my research did not extend that far. So you don't just say, I don't know, right? You give some sort of professional explanation about why you don't know, okay? That's one skill I really push on students, is that you don't want to present yourself as unknowledgeable, especially in a presentation, okay? So a lot of times when students ask me questions, I might say something like, why don't you find that out for homework and come back and share with the rest of the group? Or I might say, I'll have to look into that for you, or I'll have to ask my colleague. So I'm telling you as the audience that I hear what you're saying. that I care about finding an answer and that I'm going to find an answer. I'm not just saying, well, I don't know. All right. I don't want to hear that on the presentations. No, I don't knows. Okay. Now, this week is light on lecture and reading material because you're working on the compare contrast presentation. If you have any questions about it, please call me. I'm getting some emails from you, so that's great. I am starting to set up the presentation times, preferably through Skype. And you can let me know if you have any questions about the assignment. Remember, the assignment is separated on the assignments folder. So if you go into assignments and exams, you have the homework folder that you want to check, and you have the paper folder. The paper folder is where you're going to submit the presentation and the paper. The homework folder is where you submit all of the other stuff like the outline, the works cited, and the brainstorm. So you are looking in both places. Now, as far as the rubric and assignment description, you're going to find those in the paper folder for the compare contrast assignment. All right, you want to make sure that you're looking that over because that's exactly how I'm grading you. All right, now as we near the end of the semester, I want you to be serious about submitting your work on time. Like I've told you several times in the past, if you are trying, if I see that you are viewing the YouTube videos and looking at the information and trying to submit your work, the other important aspect of doing well in this class is staying in touch with me. I don't know what's going on with each of you unless you're staying in touch with me. So stay in touch with me, submit your work. If it's late, just submit it so I can see what you're doing. And like I said, if you're doing all of those things, then you are being successful in the course. All right, I will see most of you for presentations. This is the only lecture I'm going to post for this whole week because I want you thinking about signing up for your presentation time. Hopefully schedule it with me this week. If not, we can do it early next week. But I need to get these going so that I can start putting in some final grades so you can see where you really are. We have one more bigger paper, the cause and effect paper, and it's basically a continuation of what we've been doing this whole time. And the next lecture will detail all of that information for next week's work.